Therefore, science can never reach capital T truth. You cannot be within the assumption and then try and transcend it. It's just not possible. Hello, thinkers. Once again, welcome to the Apex Mind. And in today's discussion or today's video, I am going to prove that science is the same as religion. Yes. Alright, so now that I've said that, you might be wondering, what? Science is the same as religion? That can't be true. My science gave us gravity, my science gave us the airplane, my science gave us so many useful things about understanding reality and knowing about reality and these computers and everything. Faith is useless, faith is garbage, faith gives nothing, it is of no value. Well, my friend, the argument is not of value. Value does not determine, or utility does not determine specifically what truth is. Now, what even is truth? That is a question that philosophers and researchers and everyone else in the entire world has been grappling with, right? Theologians or religious people give their own interpretations of what truth is. To them, that is God. And scientists, they don't really speak of truth, very honestly. They speak of models that align with truth, but not capital T truth. Philosophers, on the other hand, they discuss truth, and to them, truth is something which should be self-evident, which should be unfalsifiable under any conditions, and which should not involve any assumptions. These are the three qualities of truth. Now that we've defined truth, now that we've known what truth is, we need to understand that, just because, again, I need to reiterate this point over and over again, because some people are just obsessed with this argument that just because it works, it is true. No, if something does not follow these three conditions of being self-evident, of being unfalsifiable, and having no assumptions, it cannot be classified into truth. That is what capital T truth is. Now, the two popular ways of understanding truth, or at least the two ones that we are going to discuss today, are going to be science, science, and religion, or theology, whatever you want to call it. Let's see the distinction that science and religion have, or more importantly, the similarity, because the point of this video is to prove the similarity of both of those methodologies, right? So science has a very foundational assumption that disqualifies it from being logical. Science believes that sensory information gives you an accurate account of what is out there, what is reality. Do we know that to be true? Can we prove that by logic? We can't. That's an assumption. That assumption forms the foundational principle of empiricism. Empiricism is the belief that sensory information is the right tool set, or gives accurate information of what is out there, of reality. That itself is an assumption. And hence, science, by its very nature, is based and rooted in assumption. Similarly, theology believes that either God made the universe, or God is real, or the book that let's go by that. The holy book is correct. Now, a lot of times when I'm arguing with the believers, or science thumpers as I would like to say to them, they tell me that science is not based on assumption. And they say that science is testable, they say that science is falsifiable, they say that science is proven through other metrics. But what they don't understand is that their tests, that their sensory information, that their logic, all of those are within the paradigms of the assumption, which is sensory information to be a true account of reality. And therefore, their entire worldview, or science itself, it relies on foundational assumption. And when you say that we can use the scientific method in order to prove that science is real, it is the same as saying we can prove the biblical God by saying that the God is said to be real in the Bible. Right? So now that we've proven that science relies on assumption, therefore science cannot qualify to be truth. Science cannot define truth. You know why? Because a truth requires, again, three things. One aspect it will never qualify in, where there is no argument in, is the fact that it should require no assumption. Science does require assumption. Hence, it doesn't even matter if science is self-evident, it's unfalsifiable or falsifiable, it can be anything. The fact of the matter is science always relies on an assumption, the assumption that empiricism is the right methodology, the right epistemology to know the world, and empiricism itself relies on the foundation that sensory information is a true measure of reality. And hence, science can never have not an assumption, because science always relies on the bedrock of assumptions. That is what science is. Therefore, science can never reach capital T truth. You cannot be within the assumption and then try and transcend it. It's just not possible. So wait, apex mind, what you mean to say is that science is based on assumption, that everything that science ever believes in rests on the assumption of empiricism to be true, and hence, therefore, it relies on a foundation of an unprovable claim, an unprovable belief, dare I say, faith. Now, what does that sound like? God is real because the Bible says so. God did this because the Bible says so. This happened because the Bible says so. It's the same concept as it is in religion. Same thing. And therefore, now what happens? See, they're literally the same thing. Both of them are resting upon faith. Faith in a model. Faith in something else. And again, I am mentioning this the third time in the video, but I have to, because people keep making this fallacious argument out of utility. Just because science is useful, just because it is pragmatic, just because it has utilitarian benefits, does not make it true. It does not satisfy the criteria of truth. It is useful, yes, it helps you do XYZ things, yes, but that is not the same as truth. Religion has helped people historically, not even existential beliefs, right? There is a system of reading charts in Vedic charts, which is basically astrology in Hinduism, which does actually very concretely for many people help them choose a life partner, help them make decisions about their careers, and you ask them, they're going to say it is very useful, that it has helped them out. And that is just one example. Hell, you look it up, the usefulness of religion, and you'll get a lot of examples of how it is useful. So religion and science are both serving a pragmatic purpose in the same capacity, not maybe a different capacity, right? Maybe one is more pragmatic than the other. It doesn't matter, because essentially they are both faith-based. Both science and religion, you know what they are? They're birds, right? They're from the same species, the species of taking assumption. And just because they are different sorts of birds, one is a penguin or one is an ostrich, does not make them not birds. So essentially, when you say that science is true because it works, it is the same as a priest saying that religion is true because it helps people, it works in certain capacity, it gives us existential benefits, it takes away the dread of death. You're the same. You're a priest of science. And a lot of people, I believe a lot of people, and I have seen, are not natural atheists. Like, a lot of atheists are born in religious families. What they do is they unlearn religion, they unlearn dogma, and they adopt science because it is testable, it is provable. Yet you are, on a meta level, still someone who is operating from faith. You've changed your God from God himself to science. That is the only difference. That is literally the only difference. You have increased in sophistry, but your metaphysical stance is the same. Your belief is the same. You still rely on faith. And that is why science is the same as religion. It's all the same. It's all faith-based. So until and unless you unlearn faith, and you're rigorous about questioning, and you're rigorous about removing assumptions, you are not any different from what you were many years ago when you did believe in a God. You still do. The God's name is the science today. So the real battle is not between people of science and people of faith. The real battle is between people who have unquestionable faith in certain systems and people who do genuine inquiry. You're not a skeptic until you start questioning your own foundations. That's it from my side. And remember, as I always say, patterns, they're everywhere.